TCU over Michigan, you would have been cool with it. Did you want to see it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and I almost thought you could put TCU over Ohio State, but at least Ohio State has the Notre Dame win in addition to the Penn State win on their resume. So they do have two pretty solid wins. But is it fair to say the Big 12 is significantly deeper than the Big 10?
Very
Yes.
much
And so, like, now we're almost to the point where TCU only has a couple weeks left. They've been through a pretty impressive gauntlet of the deepest conference in the country. Like, so why wouldn't we acknowledge that and say that their body of work from start to finish is better? Now, I do think the Penn State win for Michigan is probably better than any singular win that TCU has, but I think the body of work should resonate even more so. And it's not like TCU's non-conference is that significantly better. I mean, SMU is a pretty good team, but it's not like it blows you away. But I do think the collection of wins is better than Michigan's. And of course, it doesn't matter. And, it's all going to play out. But I just felt like they could have recognized the depth of the Big 12. Because, the Big 10 is what, a 2.5 team league? And that's where that's where I think you've got to look at, okay, let's look at the Big 12 is, had all these teams stacked up at the top and now they're starting to knock each other off. But I do think it should hold some weight in the discussion of resumes.
I'm with you. If it's just me, I would have TCU ahead of Michigan, even if I don't really think TCU is better than Michigan. I just think that based on what they've accomplished, they deserve it. But I think when Boo Corrigan, after he's done explaining why NC State's still ranked, he will say, well, the difference is that Michigan has dominated its opponents. So it's like, even if it hasn't played the same level of strength,
aren't you supposed to do their schedule? Like, couldn't TCU have dominated their opponents, or a lot of teams dominated their opponents?
Well, yeah,
I think that they are similar because they on the team sheets do not use strength of record, the ESPN created metric that's like how would the average team go through your schedule, but TCU strength of record is 1, Michigan's is 5. Like, they're both deserving of being right there at the very top. There's no outlier right there. TCU has the better Kansas State, Texas, Oklahoma State is a better trio of wins than what Michigan has with Penn State, Maryland, and Iowa. But what is also on the team sheet is your offensive and your defensive statistics. And while TCU has one of the best offenses in the country, Michigan's really good at both. And I think that that's what those committee members are probably seeing, because we've already heard Boo Corrigan say in previous rankings releases that they're looking for balance. Like, wasn't that the Alabama over TCU argument in the very first rankings release? Like, TCU, even though that defense in the win over Texas performed well,
good.
I think the season as a whole, those numbers are probably not doing them any favors. That is my prediction.
Yeah, no, that's.
But why do they not hold that against Tennessee?
Oh, because Tennessee beat Alabama
and LSU.
Oh yeah, that's right. But they gave up 49 points in that game, in the Bama game.
Yeah, but again, you lose in the SEC, and that's worth something.
Agreed. I totally agree. And apparently the ACC too, as long as it's Boston College.
As long as it's Boston College. But going back to the TCU debate, though, it's like, I understand you're 100% right, Chip. But like, Michigan also benefits from, after getting that big win against Penn State, they've played Michigan State, Rutgers, and Nebraska. Michigan State's probably going to get to a bowl at this point. But Rutgers and Nebraska, TCU doesn't get Rutgers and Nebraska. There are no Rutgers and Nebraskas in the Big 12 right now. So for me, it's like, this is a team that doesn't get to take a week off. Michigan's had plenty of weeks off.
I do think we have seen that in the strength of schedule rankings. Michigan's, by the way, is 82.
Yeah.
That is by far the worst in the top. Shoot, I'm all the way down into the teens at this point. Might be one of the worst in the whole top 25. It's worse than North Carolina's right now. But all the Big 12 teams have seen their strength of schedule rankings improve because the league is strong. And even as every single week league opponents have to take losses, TCU's is going to be better than Michigan's. But do it. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, like, the Big 12 from top to bottom, if it was the SEC, there'd be like 7 Big 12 teams in the top 25. You know what I'm saying? If the SEC had the same strength of schedule as all these Big 12 teams does, the same overall metrics, there would be 7 ranked teams in that conference.